Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of What Makes This Game Awesome. With the fairly recent release of the Nintendo Switch, we welcome another console to the table. Its launch titles, yeah, all three of them, have kind of reminded me of Shovel Knight, which has basically managed to earn itself a spot on the must-have for every system ever. For good reason. I absolutely love this game, and I've wanted to make a video on it for a little while. So I think now's probably quite a good time to. So even though every other gaming YouTuber basically has already covered it, today I'm going to be talking about Shovel Knight and what makes this game awesome. When I said this game was for every console under the sun, I wasn't lying. If you have a 3DS, PS Vita, PS3, PS4, Wii U, Nintendo Switch, or Amazon Fire TV, then you have no excuse to not play this game. Shout out to all those real gamers on their Amazon Fire TVs. And let me tell you, there's a reason it's on so many consoles. Because it's so good. In true Nintendo style, Shovel Knight shows what's important in video games. I've already said that gameplay is the must-have in the game, and everything else just adds onto it. I mean, how many people do you know who play Dark Souls for its storyline? Same thing with this game. The storyline's fun and kinda charming, with each character having a unique personality and making you want to interact with every character to see what they have to say. This makes the game quite charming, but the storyline isn't important, or why this game is so successful and fun. It's because it has time, effort, and care put into the way it plays, making every moment feel deliberate and putting you in full control of Shovel Knight. The levels are designed to allow different routes for different levels of gameplay, providing extra optional rooms and challenges to collect extra money and unlock more powers and collectibles for Shovel Knight. This is a feature that lots of Mario games use as well, providing optional objectives to test more experienced players, and it makes the game appeal to people who love platformers, and also to people who've never played them before. It's weird how natural this feels, but in every single level there are hidden rooms with treasure, alternate routes, and challenges that aren't necessary, but just having the option makes the game so fun to play. The first level of the game, Plains, is an incredibly well-designed first stage. In fact, it's so good they didn't have to change it at all for both DLC characters that have been added to the game so far, and it still teaches you both of their abilities without any form of tutorial, and purely through level design. Shovel Knight is a well-designed character with a well-rounded skill set that makes him effective in all circumstances, if correctly controlled. You see, if you're good at this game, like me, then you can... let me try that again. Maybe I'm not so good at this game. So Shovel Knight's one of the games with controls that are easy to grasp but hard to master. You'll probably find yourself struggling on some part of the game, but the game never feels unfair or impossible, and knowing that it was my fault when I wasn't completing the levels really kept me motivated to complete the game. At a very, very simplified level, Shovel Knight boils down to combat and platforming. You swing your shovel like a sword, even being able to do that down stab thing like you can do in Zelda 2, and can upgrade it to do even more stuff, like a charged attack and shoveling dirt into the sky to damage enemies. The combat's fun, but the level design actually makes it challenging. Just fighting through waves of enemies would be really easy, but enemies are strategically placed to mess with you, being in just the right place to both set you up for really satisfying combos, but also to fuck you over if you mess that up, keeping you on your toes and making you truly incorporate your surroundings into your combat and playstyle. Platforming is precise and fun, with Shovel Knight being able to use his down stab to bounce off enemies and through the air, which adds another level of difficulty, but is also really fun to do and helps to blend platforming and combat together, which really helps stopping them feeling like separate parts of the game. Shovel Knight revolves around you, Shovel Knight, trying to take out all the knights so you can defeat the Enchantress and save Shield Knight. The story really isn't the main focus of the game, but it's nice to have characters talk to you like a hero, referencing the storyline indirectly and making the whole thing feel natural. The knights are the bosses of the game, with a few exceptions, and there are tons of side quests and optional achievements to earn along the way. All of the knights are really well designed and unique, all of them feeling like they have a personality and aren't just evil because storyline. Hell, some of them are so well fleshed out that they have basically a new game made about them, and I'll be talking about these later in the video. All of their abilities are challenging and varied, and I think it's worth saying that not a single one is a pushover. There are also other characters that appear on the world map. These can intercept you as you walk between stages and force you into boss fights with characters that aren't knights, and these fights add even more variation, showing characters with different goals and powers that can be really challenging. Before each boss, you need to complete their stage, each one having a unique environment and enemies. These are the main stages of the game, and while there are a few optional stages, these are the ones you'll be playing the most. In each of these stages, you'll find Chester. He's like a mimic, but he gives you stuff instead of killing you. So that's nice, I think. He still makes you pay money though. Just isn't nice. You can buy relics from him, which change how you fight, move, platform, and more. For example, the Chaos Sphere throws a bouncy ball across the screen that damages enemies, while the Dust Knuckles let you attack dash. There are 11 of these to collect, and all of them are really useful, allowing you to change your playstyle for how you like to complete a level. On the subject of buying stuff, if you notice my armor throughout this video hasn't been blue all the time, that's because you can buy alternate armors for Shovel Knight. They all affect his abilities in some way, some simply increasing defense, some adding magic power, but there are some cool and unique ones too. For example, the armor I used when I first played this, and I've had for parts of the video, is called the Mail of Momentum. It means enemies don't give you knockback, but you're more slippery and can't stop very quickly. You can also buy upgrades to health and magic, and let me just say, if you couldn't, I don't think I'd have been able to complete this game. I'll talk about the final boss in a minute, but first I want to talk about the DLC for this game, Plague of Shadows. Now when I was first playing through the game, Plague Knight was one of my favourite bosses to fight against. He was really difficult and he kind of stood out from the other knights a lot to me, so when I heard that there was a DLC that let you play as him, I, along with quite a few other people, was pretty hyped. A decent number of people kind of expected it to just be a sprite change, and admittedly, at first glance it does look like that. But by changing not actually that much, they've managed to completely revamp the game for Plague Knight, managing to change the atmosphere, some of the level designs, the difficulty, and just actually your playstyle, making only a few very big changes. Instead of fighting to save someone, in Plague Knight's storyline, you're fighting to get the essences of all of the other knights to create the ultimate potion and do your evil stuff. The controls are really different to Shovel Knight's, allowing you to double jump and forcing you to use ranged attacks instead of close range shovel swings. The really interesting part is that Plague Knight's campaign encourages constantly changing your loadout on the fly, whereas Shovel Knight's revolved around only changing in between stages and keeping a fairly constant loadout. In each level, you can open your loadout menu, which lets you change how your bomb behaves after it's thrown, how long it takes to blow up, and more. You can also customize how your boost jump behaves, so you can really customize your attack patterns to suit how you like to play. While the actual environments remain fairly similar to Shovel Knight's campaign, a couple of the enemies are switched up, and the NPCs all interact with you very differently, treating you as a villain instead of a hero. In fact, you aren't even allowed in the main town and end up having the hidden base underground as your town. You can still upgrade your character in similar ways, but instead of relics, you can buy different casings for your bombs, which make your bombs behave differently. You also can't upgrade your health, but you can increase it for a life, kind of Dark Souls-y, I guess, but not really. So it encourages a risk and reward kind of strategy. These may seem like small changes, but I love how much care has been put into these few changes. You can see that they thought long and hard about this, and it really has made for a completely different but equally fun game. You can even see Shovel Knight running around in the normal town sometimes, which is really cool, and it makes it feel so much less like a new character, and much closer to a new game taking place at the same time. The levels and bosses are the same, for the most part, but the new combat and movement means you have to find new ways to get through the level, because you can't do the same things that Shovel Knight can. One of my favourite parts of this DLC is that where you normally fight Plague Knight, you end up fighting Shovel Knight, which is really cool because it makes you realise just how different their movesets are, and having moves you've used against you is really cool and fun to play. Okay, spoiler warning, I'm going to be talking about the final fight with the Enchantress, so if you want to play this game, then don't look at this point. I'll put the time on screen now where you need to skip to if you want to avoid spoilers. Shovel Knight and Plague Knight have a different final boss, so I'm going to be talking about Shovel Knight's first and then Plague Knight's. After a really hard level, one of the final ones in the game, you have to fight a super buffed version of Black Knight. He's actually really difficult, and even beating this fight takes way more skill than it took at the end of the first stage. After wrecking him and going through another stage, you end up having to fight every single knight in a row. Now this is a part that I'm not quite as keen on. I feel it's kind of a lazy fight, but the fights show how far you've come, and the game does heal you after each fight, so it doesn't exactly screw up, it's still fair. I just have preferred a better, more rounded boss fight. Obviously that's just personal preference. The Enchantress seems like a fairly average boss fight at first, adding some new mechanics but not being hugely challenging. Her main mechanic is having a destructible floor and using attacks which break it, making you platform flawlessly while also doing damage to her, which is harder than you think. It really tests your platforming skills, and I can appreciate that in a boss fight. One of her attacks can restore the broken floor, if it becomes impossible to platform, but the newly created floor can damage you for a while, so it's really tough to manage the amount of floor left and the gaps between platforms. It's not easy by any means, but it's not great as a final boss battle, which is good, because it's not. Looks like you just got pranked, April Fools. Oh. Okay. I guess I'm the fool. After you defeat the Enchantress, you shatter her amulet, which releases Shield Knight from her spell. Releasing the amulet let the power inside free, and so the real final boss is revealed. A bigger Enchantress. The boss is extremely difficult, but so fun to fight. The entire video game you've been told of how you and Shield Knight used to work together and be a hero duo, and having this fight revolve around working together with Shield Knight is a really satisfying way to end the game. It doesn't feel like you just rescued the damsel in distress, it feels like you just rescued your partner. All of her moves are made to perfectly support yours and add extra opportunities for you to attack and wait. The actual battle becomes much faster paced as well, adding projectiles that become really hard to dodge being shot around the screen, meaning you have to utilize Shield Knight's abilities constantly to survive. The Enchantress has a few moves to make sure you keep moving, like randomly smashing her head on the floor. Yeah, very effective. And throwing out different types of projectiles that lock onto you in different ways. As you can see, I spent most of my time off screen because I'm pretty sure this is the only way to fight her. It's a much harder boss fight, but keeps the game's core mechanics and stays fun the whole time. So I really can't praise this final fight enough. Plague Knight has the same lead up to and first phase of the fight, but the second phase is different. Instead of a giant Enchantress, your potion manifests itself in the form of a giant Plague Knight, which is somehow even harder than the big Enchantress. You have to destroy the bottom half of it so it opens its mouth and reveals its weak point, and you have to do this 3 to 4 times if you manage to hit it enough. It's a really fun fight, and surprisingly really different to the Shovel Knight one. I absolutely love both of these boss fights, and I think it's amazing that they've been able to create this much variation between the two characters. Anyway, that's Shovel Knight. I rushed over the story because there wasn't too much to talk about, and it would take quite a while to explain why you get attached to all the characters. But I really want to do this game justice, so hopefully the really important part of the game, the gameplay, has been covered enough in this video. There's actually a new DLC for this game that lets you play as Specter Knight, another one of my favourite bosses in the game. And this came out for Nintendo Switch a little while ago, and I'm still waiting for it to come out on PS4. So as soon as that happens, expect to see a video on that. But anyway, to answer the important question, the precise and well done platforming that blends seamlessly with the combat, the really good level design, the unique and pretty good atmosphere, especially for an 8-bit game, substantial and free DLC, and such a good soundtrack, what makes this game awesome. From my experience of the game, I would happily rate the game a 9 out of 10, and if you're just looking for a game that's fun, this is the one. It's good, and it's not actually that much money, so that's also good. The new DLC has received pretty damn positive reviews, but I just hope that from my experience, it just does the game even more justice than the game and the other DLC. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to smash like and hit subscribe to see more stuff from the channel. If you have any thoughts on the game, make sure to leave it in the comments. Also, make sure to check out my social stuffs to stay updated with the show. They're on screen now and in the description for all of you on mobile or tablet. And thank you guys again. I will see you in the next episode, so see you there.